Hi, this is Jeremy Kellett, Director of Recruiting at Oakley Trucking, and I'm your host for this podcast. This is episode 104. So on today's episode, I sit down with Lindsey Trent of Next Gen Trucking, and we're at the Mid-America Truck Show in Louisville, Kentucky. And Lindsey talks about how her organization introduces young people to the transportation industry. It's a very interesting episode, and I think you'll enjoy it. Thanks for listening to the Oakley Podcast, and let's get straight into the show after we hear from our sponsor, Aero Truck Sales. Keith Wilson at Aero Truck Sales in Springfield, Missouri is currently offering $1,000 off your first month's payment when you finance with transport funding, or $1,000 off the truck price if you bring your own financing. They're also discounting the cost of an extended warranty by $500. Aero Truck Sales has been a long-time partner with Oakley Trucking, and that's because they specialize in first-time truck buyers. They don't do any leases. They have the best used trucks money can buy because used trucks is all they do. They don't sell any new trucks. And the biggest reason that Aero and Oakley are partners is service after the sale. It is very important to us at Oakley that when we refer you to a company, that they are a good company with good people. They do what they say, and they understand our requirements. So give Keith a call at 573-216-6047 for a good used truck, and tell him you heard about it on the Oakley Podcast. Okay, we're here at Mid-America Truck Show, and we're talking to Miss Lindsey Trent with Next Gen Trucking, or Next Generation Trucking, I guess is what we call it. Lindsey, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Love to be here at Matt.
Oh, isn't it great out here?
Fun.
You were telling me, and we'll get into what you do here in a minute, but I was just excited to hear about you brought 200 high schoolers here yesterday?
There was about 240 diesel tech and interested CDL students here. They were in high school. We thought if they were going to get excited about trucking, which we want them to be excited about trucking, they would get excited at the Mid-America Truck Show. They loved it. Yeah. They got all kinds of cool stuff. They got hats. They went to some booths to meet people and to see these trucks and climb inside of them, drive simulators. They had a great day. And of course, they should have been in school, but they were at the Mid-America Truck Show. It was a field trip.
Well, that's right. That qualifies.
That's right.
Field trip. Well, that's good that you bring that many high schoolers out here to learn about trucking, because we don't do enough of that. Now, give our listeners an idea about what Next Generation Trucking is, because when I heard about this, our friend Laura was telling me about you need to talk to Lindsey with Next Generation. Well, I looked y'all up, and I thought, this is fantastic idea to be able to connect, make the connection to trucking. So give us a little background and what you got going on.
Sure. So I've been in trucking about 10 years. I started off doing driver staffing, and then I worked for Ryder for the last 4 years. I'm officially full-time with Next Gen. But during that time, the biggest issue that we've always faced in our industry, an aging workforce, the lack of young people getting into our industry, the lack of programs and knowledge that young people have about the trucking industry. And if they do know something, it might not be what's actually what a truck driver does day in and day out. And so what we decided we wanted to do is to really create an industry-wide solution for an industry-wide problem. And my co-founder, his name's Dave Dine. 5 years ago, he started a high school program at Patterson High School. It's a very involved, well-rounded truck driving program. And what we're trying to do is replicate his program and just really do anything we can do to raise awareness about trucking careers for young people.
That's awesome. That's been needed a long time, to be able to make that connection from coming out of high school to what even trucking's about. Even how trucks operate and going down the highways, a whole nother deal, of learning that. So you guys go to high schools and actually try to get them to participate in your program?
Yeah, so we're connected to diesel tech high schools all across the country. So high schools that have diesel tech programs. There's some high schools that have supply chain programs. We're trying to get more of those as well. So we've met probably with over 50 schools to start CDL programs, all the way from Maine to Hawaii to Alaska. And so what we're trying to do is to really create a well-rounded CDL program where young people can learn about becoming a truck driver.
Is that now have you been involved in the new apprenticeship that they're talking about now, making that from high school to getting a CDL, letting 18-year-olds drive, which it freaks out a lot of truck drivers. It doesn't me. To be honest with you, I've got
a 21-year-old now, and I mean, at 18, I believe he could drive a truck.
Yeah, we're not looking for any 18-year-old. It's a special person that would be able to drive a truck and who we want to train. But the program that we're trying to get out there, it's a 1-year program in high school where they go to class every single day. It's classroom instruction. It's very well thought out. They have 2 simulators on site. They have a truck and a trailer to do pre and post trip inspections, coupling. They just incorporated a golf cart with a utility trailer this year so they could practice their backing. So it's a very well thought out program. We're also trying to create a 2-year pathway. So it's going to be even more intensive in getting these young people properly trained to be truck drivers. When they graduate high school, then they re-enroll and go to a local driving school to get their behind the wheel training.
Do you see a lot of high schoolers that didn't really know about trucking, but are so glad that they heard about it? I mean, you know, that's a lot of them don't hear about it.
That's right. It's really about changing people's lives. And we've seen this a lot of times with trucking programs that we can offer. So one of Dave's first graduates, his dad, a couple months into the program, came in to shake his hand. And Dave said, okay, well, why? And he said, well, before my son started taking your class, he was in the wrong crowd. He wasn't successful in traditional education, so he had a low self-esteem. He changed his life literally because he got connected to a truck driving program. He finally found something he was good at and he could be passionate about. And today, that driver who graduated 5 years ago bought his first truck, and now he's an owner-operator, and he wants to own more trucks. And so he went from graduating high school, being a company driver, and now owns his own truck. So
how old is he?
He's,
probably
23.
23. Wow.
Yep. And so getting these young kids on a pathway that can change their lives is what we're all about.
You know, it's great to see passion that you have to do that, because that we need more people like you to do that, because there is such a need for that gap that everybody's talked about for years, from going to high school to becoming a truck driver. And then to hear that you've changed one kid's life makes it all worthwhile. And I can only imagine the seeds that you planted yesterday with 240 kids running around the truck show for the first time. Don't you know that they're still excited today?
That's right. And we see that Generation Z, this generation that's coming up, they're questioning that pathway, whether or not they need to go to college or not. And the average student today graduates with $30,000 to $50,000 in student loan debt. Gen Z, they're entrepreneurial. So we need to connect them to careers where they can get the training in high school and start a career in trucking right out of high school. But we want to train that well-trained driver, and we want them to have other pathways besides going to college. And we think that trucking can provide that pathway.
Yeah. Is it? And a stupid question, but I'm thinking, so will they have their CDL? Like if they come out of high school and they go through one of your programs, will they come out of there with a CDL?
So depending on their age, they graduate high school and get their CLP. And then when they are 18, then they go on to do the behind the wheel training with either a local community college or a private driving school, or even a school that has or a company that has a training program. So it's a pathway for their CLP and then their CDL once they graduate, because that's usually when they're 18.
Yeah, so you're the first initial step to get it going.
Yep, that's right.
Fantastic. Any some of the results you're seeing other besides? I mean, I know you the one guy that's already an owner operator. That's fantastic. And I was on your website the other day and saw, might have been the same guy, the same young man that had his own truck that was being successful already. I mean, you got any other examples like that you can think of?
Well, we're seeing young women. We have a partner called Job Behaviors, and it really is an assessment on if the person is going to make a good delivery driver or a CDL over the road driver. It's a 10-minute assessment. Dave gives it to all the juniors. And through that assessment, it identifies if you were going to make a safe driver that's going to be retained in the industry, behaviorally, who you are intrinsically. And so a lot of girls score high on that assessment. And so he personally invites them to his class, and he has increased the girls twofold
Wow.
that are entering his class.
That's great. That's great because they need to be included because they probably are shocked going, oh, yeah, that's maybe
right.
something I want to do.
Absolutely. One of the other things that we're doing is starting diesel tech programs. And so I'm on the advisory board of the local high school here in Louisville, Kentucky. They started their diesel tech program 3 years ago. And I was meeting with the teacher and he said, I tell my students in the next couple of years, if you're not making $60,000, you're doing something wrong. And then in the same breath, he said, most of these kids, their parents don't even make $60,000 combined. So the trajectory in life we can get them on by introducing a trucking program, the sky's the limit. Also, the sky's the limit with careers in trucking. You can start off being a driver or a diesel technician and make a good living and do that your entire career. Or if you want to become a safety manager or an HR director, or literally, there's so many opportunities in our industry. We want to get them connected to our industry.
And that's a very good point because I was telling somebody yesterday, we were talking, and somebody that's in the trucking business. Somebody knows somebody that's in the trucking business. Somehow trucking is affecting their lives, or they're either a truck driver, they work for a trucking company, they're in logistics some way, somehow. And there's so much opportunity for that for people out there that, it seems like the last 10 years I've started seeing colleges come up with a logistics, train. You actually get degrees now and that kind of stuff. Where used to, when I went back to college, there wasn't anything like that in there. So, and another thing, Lindsey, I know a lot of times we concentrate on the CDL driver, Class A, but there's so much more opportunities of driving CDL, and they don't have to be Class A. I mean, it's straight trucks, it's local, it's it's all the stuff that driving opportunities include besides over the road stuff.
Right. It's about creating that pathway. And one of the things that we encourage industry partners is when we do start a program, maybe you can't hire a driver until they're 21 or they're 23, but creating that pathway for them and getting them involved in who you are as a company. Maybe you start off them being a straight truck driver or delivery van driver, or maybe they're working in your warehouse, but getting them entrenched in your culture. And then when they turn 21, then maybe they can start driving for you. So it's about creating these pathways and getting these young people good jobs in our industry.
I think that's great. I think it's great what y'all do at Next Generation. If a school is listening, or maybe truck driver and they want to get their kid involved that's in school, what's the best way to get in touch with you guys?
So you can look us up online. Our website is nextgentrucking.org. So that's nextgentrucking.org. We work with people to start programs all over the country, but there's a good school system that you think would be good. And we also have people who join our association, and that's actually how we're funded. So we have truck drivers in our association. We have diesel techs, we have carriers and allied members and dealers. So we want the entire industry to get behind us in what we're doing and training up the next generation of our industry.
So that's how y'all operate, is you're funded by whoever wants to donate.
That's right.
Donation. So you got to, oh, wow.
Yeah. So, we're on a mission. It's all about the mission to us. And I tell people, this is kind of a threefold benefit. It's going to help our industry to get a skilled, diverse workforce, which is what we're working towards. It's going to help our economy because truckers are essential workers.
Yes.
But the biggest thing that we're doing is changing students' lives. And so we are on a mission to introduce young people to this great career where they don't have to go to college and get $30,000 to $50,000 in student loan debt. They can come into our industry and get a great career and be on a pathway where they can support their family.
That's perfect. I love your passion for it. I really do. That's great. So, all right. Well, thanks for coming out and telling us about Next Gen. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was great to be on the show, and thank you.
You bet. Nextgeneration.org. No, NextGen.
Nextgentrucking.org.
Okay, nextgentrucking.org.
And we're also on social media at NextGen Truckers.
Oh, good.
So find us on all the social media pages at NextGen Truckers.
Okay. Thanks, Lindsey, for hanging out.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.